As you may expect, there's a lot of buzz around a bumblebee nest, and for most it's a warning to stay away. But Stephanie O'Connor, a research assistant at the University of Stirling in Scotland, is attracted by that sound. She studies bumblebees and their nests, and as a result, her new research is creating a lot of buzz of its own. That's because she's found there are others who not only like the sound, but enjoy the taste as well. Ms. O'Connor, welcome to Quirks and Quarks.
Hi, Bob.
Well, tell me what kind of bees you are studying.
Well, I'm studying bumblebees, predominantly the common species that we have here in the UK.
And what were you trying to find out about them?
Well, not very much is known about bumblebees' nests. We don't really know what sort of density they're occurring in the landscape, or how many of them are surviving through the season to produce new queens and males with the next generation of bees. And we don't know what's killing off the nests that aren't making it through the season. So I really wanted to start answering some of those questions with my research.
Now, when you say nest, what's a bumblebee nest like?
Well, the nest starts off in springtime, when it's just a queen bee, the large bees that you see flying around in the spring. And she will find somewhere suitable, which is typically a hole in the ground made by a mouse or something similar, with some nice sort of fluffy bedding inside. And she will lay eggs and rear successive broods of workers up through the season. And then the workers will collect pollen and nectar through the season until the nest grows and grows.
So the bumblebees are underground, they're not in hives like other bees?
They can be in birds' nests and holes in trees and that kind of thing, but most species tend to be underground. And they're quite small. Whereas hives of honeybees that you think of, they tend to have around 30 or 40,000 worker bees inside them. Bumblebee nests are much, much smaller, talking about maybe 300 to 400 individuals, so they're much smaller.
Wow. Well, if the colonies are smaller and they're underground, how do you as a researcher find the nests?
Well, I have two methods. One is a sniffer dog that I had trained by the army a few years ago, who helps me to find the nests. And also, it just seems I now have my eye in, as it were, having spent around 4 years working on the bumblebees, and I can kind of spot them about 20 yards, so combination.
Well, so you have a dog helping you. That could be dangerous for a dog sniffing around a bee nest.
Well, fortunately, as you probably all know, bumblebees are really placid, and unless you were to start really kind of, digging around and messing around with the nests, they don't actually mind you even sitting very close to them, or fortunately a dog's nose pointing at where the nest is.
Well, once you establish yourself around a nest, where did you go from there?
Well, as I said before, there's lots of things that I want to know about the nest, and I kind of came to the conclusion that the only way to find out all of these details is just to be there 24 hours a day for the whole life, which obviously I can't do. And so I realised that I needed to video record the entrance to the nest and see everything that was going on.
Well, now you say that the lifetime of the nest, how long does the nest last?
Around 2 or 3 months is pretty typical. Basically the whole summer. If you think about the time that you see bumblebees on the wing, and well, they're all living in nests, so that's how long they're lasting.
So what did you see when you did the video recording for that length of time?
Well, it was really exciting. The brilliant thing that I found was great tits, these little birds waiting outside the nests for the bees to go in and out, and then they were catching them as they were flying and then pecking at them and taking them away. And we weren't expecting that at all.
What went through your mind when you saw birds taking bees?
It was just really exciting. I've been told and known about great tits taking the odd bumblebee that's maybe on its last legs kind of dying. If you see it ever bees at the end of the season kind of walking around on pavements and things. And we knew that great tits and other birds will attack them at that stage, but just had no idea at all. It's never been suggested that great tits would attack nests in this way. And the way that they were staking them out, they were visiting the nest quite often and waiting for maybe half a minute or so at the entrances and like kind of looking around, and you could see them really sort of hunting with their eyes and following where any bees that were leaving the nest were going to and then flying off after them. It was really exciting to watch.
Well, did you see the birds actually eating the bees?
So great tits, like many birds, they don't really like to feed on the ground if they can help it. So they were taking the bees in their beaks and then flying up into trees, I guess. And so they're out of shot when they're actually eating them.
Oh, so you have no idea how they're doing that then?
No, I don't know exactly how it works, but I have found corpses nearby to my nests where the bees were completely hollowed out It's really quite impressive and I guess quite gruesome as well. It's thought that somehow the great tits manage to either peck out the sting or kind of wipe it out on the branch of a tree, and then they just hollow them out. They eat all of the abdomen and the thoracic muscle as well.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to say that could be kind of dangerous for the bird if the bee could sting them while they're trying to eat it.
Well, it's really impressive that the great tits have learnt to somehow, cope and deal with the sting. But they are really intelligent birds, so I guess it's, in some ways, perhaps it shouldn't be such a surprise.
Well, what's in this for the birds?
Well, bumblebees, if you think about how hard-working they are, they're quite a decent, sizable insect, and they're flying constantly all through the summer, collecting pollen and nectar for the nest. And so the thoracic area is completely full of muscle tissue, and then they also have nectar as well inside them that they'll be carrying back to the nest. So they should be quite a hearty meal for a small bird.
Was it just the birds that were taking the bees, or were there other predators as well?
So I recorded crows also pecking away at the nests, although I couldn't record any definite kills that they'd made. And then I also recorded lots of small mammals, so mice and shrews and voles running in and out of the entrances. And squirrels also seemed to be quite keen on the bees. I had a couple of hedgehogs that were showing interest, but the nests were just too far underground so that the hedgehogs couldn't do any actual damage. So yeah, I had lots of different species, mammalian species and birds attacking, but great tits were the only ones that I could definitely confirm that they were actually hunting and killing the bees. I would like to add, of course, that it wasn't just one bee that was predated by one great tit. I did record lots of different instances at different nests, separated by about 5 miles or so. So it's not just one bird that has learnt how to do this. It is something that's widespread.
Well, you talk about bees, their populations going down. How much of an effect do you think the bird predation has on their populations?
It's very difficult to say how significant this will be. The thing that I would stress, of course, is that it's all just part of nature, and the chances are that the birds will always have been predating the bees in this way. So it could be important when we're talking about really rare species, which are only perhaps occurring in a few isolated populations or nature reserves, for example. And then you could perhaps just have, a really good year for great tits, where there's lots of those in the environment, and if they all start predating this rare, fragmented population of bees, then we could see some problems. But overall, I'd like to think that the birds aren't affecting them too badly.
Ms. O'Connor, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Bob.
Stephanie O'Connor is a research assistant in the Department of Biological and Environmental Sciences at the University of Stirling in Scotland. Coming up next, chewing it over and over and over.